it's my pleasure to bring to the room 3 of our fantastic North Coast tourism operators. So we've got Peta from Positive Energy Adventures and Retreats. We have Brenda from Let's Go Surfing, and Justine, who looks after Reflections Foster, joining us today. And each of them is going to get up. They're going to give a short presentation to give you an overview of what they do and some key takeaways, lessons that they've learned along the way, and then we'll all have a chat. So I'll direct them through a few questions that we've sort of prepared in advance, and then I'll open it up for the room to ask questions as they wish. So, Peta.
We were just asking who's first.
Oh, apologies, it's Justine. We've got to keep them on their toes. And you get to operate your own clicker.
Oh, thank you.
Just point it up there.
Yep.
Okay.
That way.
Yes.
Okay. Hi everyone, thank you for having me here today. So I wanted to start with a bit of a story. Sorry, you sit up there. When I was a kid, we lived on a property. My grandpa, Papa, was a market gardener, and honestly, I didn't realise for a long time that you could even buy fruit and veg from a supermarket. If you didn't grow it, it came from someone down the road, a neighbour, a roadside stall, or another local grower. Papa was the original zero waste champion. He'd sell what he could, use what he could, barter whatever else, and if there was anything left, that was a day in the kitchen with my grandma. Bulk meal prepping, pickling, sauces, preserves, you name it. Nothing went to waste, everything had purpose. And that's their original books that I now have that they got for their first wedding anniversary for each other. He cared for every little bit of that garden like it was part of the family, checking every tomato like it was a newborn, composting what couldn't be used, and growing with intention. He didn't call it sustainability. It was just a way of life, and that stayed with me. Fast forward a few more than a few years, and I found myself in industries that felt pretty far from that lifestyle. Banking, fast fashion, a lot of waste, a lot of disconnect, and not a lot of heart. So in my spare time, a friend and I pulled together a little committee, just a few passionate locals, and in 2016 we took over a retired bowling green on top of a car park in Maroonbilla, and we called it From Little Things Parklands. It became a community garden, an urban farm, where anyone could come and grow food, learn and connect with the land, with others, and with the values behind it. I stepped away from that project in 2018, but today, nearly 10 years later, it's still going strong, now under a different name, Farm on the Green, and I'm incredibly proud of that. Now I manage a holiday park. Very different setting, but with the same goal: create connection, lead with purpose, and leave things a little better than when we found them. At Reflections Holiday Park, Foster Beach, sustainability isn't just something we talk about once a year. It's a part of how we operate day to day, and something we want every guest to feel part of. We recently completed our Ecotourism Australia's Strive for Sustainability scorecard and received a 74% score. Now we're working towards our Ecotourism Australia certification and aiming to be the first in our group to get there and helping to build the roadmap for others to follow. So what does it look like in practice? Let's start with what guests see and do. Every cabin has a compost caddy, and guests can scan a QR code to find the nearest compost tumbler. We've gone completely paperless for cabin compendiums. A single QR code gives access to a live, up-to-date digital guide. Nespresso machines are only stocked with recyclable Virtuo pods, so we know what brand is used and we can send back through Nespresso's proper recycling channels. Bottles or cans are collected and refunded to support a local Aboriginal youth group, so every drink becomes a small donation. Nope. Okay. We've also made sure recycling signage is clear throughout the park, and we educate guests on energy and water saving habits. In cabins and amenities, we even encourage guests to leave bulk waste next to bins so we can manage it correctly rather than adding it straight into landfill. And when we do invest in new items for the park, we make sure they align with our sustainability goals. It's not just about what they do, but what they're made of and how long they'll last. A great example is the recycling canisters that we use in our cabins. Not only do they support waste separation, but they're also made from recycled materials themselves. So even the infrastructure that supports our systems is part of the solution. Behind the scenes, we're working with our Capital Works team to make sure new cabins, amenities and infrastructure are designed with sustainability in mind, reducing delivery emissions, sourcing locally where possible, and eliminating single-use plastics from reception and guest gifting. And we bring all of this together through life experience-based engagement. Our salad garden, built from our own compost, give guests a chance to taste something they helped create. We run nature-based activities for kids and families, painting with flowers, mud kitchens, yoga, scavenger hunts using natural materials. We've developed a cultural garden that honours the traditional owners of the land and invites guests to slow down and connect. What we're trying to do is simple. Give every guest, no matter how short their stay, an opportunity to connect to the land, to the values behind their experience, and maybe even take some of that home with them. Because many of them do come back. Some have been coming for 10, 20, 30 plus years. They are part of our story, part of our community, just like we're part of theirs. That's why sustainability in a holiday park isn't just reducing impact, it's about increasing meaning. It's about honouring the past, like Papa did, and giving the next generation something worth coming back to. From compost to community, that's the path we're on, and I'm proud to be part of it. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Really inspiring work that you've been doing there, and just so impressive being the first. So, well done. Peta, come on up.
Thank you. Instructions? Okay, hi, I'm Peta Alexopoulos from Port Macquarie, and I run a small tourism business called Positive Energy, Adventures and Retreats. So the first time I was in Byron Bay was actually on a hike, which is quite fitting because I run a hiking business now. And it was 23 years ago, and I was struggling to get to Little Watergoes. And luckily I did, because when I was there, my husband proposed to me. He works in health, and I've had a huge, experience working in medicine and working with specialists. So from health to tourism, and why? I see a lot of tragedy, and I see families and I see people who are nervous about their longevity, nervous about their well-being, and often don't have a lot of time to really process what's going to happen to them when they're in a situation where health is affecting them or a family. And I see a lot of burnt out corporates. I see doctors, nurses, people in the front line, in particular in COVID. I've done a lot of hiking, and just getting into nature has been a really great thing for me as a person. I love events, I love community, I love Port Macquarie. I was originally from Sydney and moved to Port Macquarie some 20 years ago. And I really felt after COVID there'd be a way that I could use all of those skills to create an experience for people, to better their well-being, and to connect with them and get them into nature. Like, just get them immersed into nature, away from technology. And I thought a way to do that was to use my beautiful community in Port Macquarie. So wellness is essential. It's not a luxury. It's actually really, really important for your longevity, for stress, for everything that we've all spoken about. But working in health, I actually see firsthand that it really, really, really does matter. So what we have created is a really great way of keeping fit, getting on your feet, getting out of your head, and seeing my beautiful community. I was hiking with my best friend, who is Brenda here. You might remember us. We were the Energizers last year at the Tourism Symposium. We were energising you. Thank you. This is actually more nervous. And we saw, both having health and wellness backgrounds and working in health, we saw this beautiful stretch of beach, which is not actually filmed here, as we were flying back from Hobart. We'd just done a multi-day hike. Victoria and Tasmania are awesome at the pack-free hikes, and New South Wales has a long way to go. And as I was flying back, the plane took a diversion, and we went up along this beautiful stretch of beach called the North Shore into Lymeburners National Park, one of Australia's youngest national parks. Nobody knows about it. And I looked down and I said to my friend Belinda, "Is that not the Mid-North Coast's Bay of Fires right there?" And it all just came together. Keeping positive energy front of mind, like always finding something positive to think about, because, like, let's face it, it's really hard sometimes. And just the whole business plan literally just happened as we were above that coastline. And one thing led to another, and before we knew it, we were up for a silver medal at the New South Wales Tourism Awards for New Business. And it really struck me as a really great thing that suddenly I was able to bring almost my life's journey of work into tourism. Having an education in business and economics and working in health and then connecting people was something I felt really passionate about, and tourism just seemed like a really great place to land it. So positive energy, we have, I guess, taken away a lot of the need to be able to plan your holiday. We plan the whole hike, the retreat, just as the pack-free hikes do in other states. But what we do a little bit differently is we connect people with themselves, with nature, with their fitness, with their ability. I have lots of people that say, "I could never walk 35 kilometres along a beach." And I say, "Why?" I'm not fit enough. So we have an 8-week fitness guide that we give to our customers before they join us, which means they're preparing for it, just like you would with a race or a marathon or anything that you might be doing, 5-kilometre hike with your kids. So we help them get ready for it. And quite honestly, when they finish at the end at Crescent Head, which is just one of the most beautiful places in New South Wales, very understated, like walking back into the 60s, and we're really proud of keeping it like that. They feel like they've won a marathon. In fact, we have a big photo at Little Nobby's in Crescent Head, and everybody's just so amazed that they have taken some time out to walk, to be with nature, to be removed from technology. There's literally no phone reception where we stay. We have a number of relationships along the coast with other stakeholders, which we spoke about before, utilising what we've got. My mantra this year is use what you've got. So we have so many great small businesses in the Mid-North Coast. And as an event manager, I just connect the dots and then create the experience for the people. And the people that have joined us, we speak to them after, during, they're taken to a different place. They call it world class, and I feel quite proud about that. But I think it's just being able to understand, read the room, know what people kind of need without them even really realising it. And it's sort of part of the wellness component to what we do, but we're actually getting people moving without them really knowing. And by the end of it, they've transformed mentally. And I like to capture, Crystal Brooke was speaking about capturing that moment from the persona, their experience at that point in time. It's really important because people change very quickly. They resort back to bad habits or their routine. So to get them with a pen and paper, old school, and just get them to write down, how are they feeling now? Have they changed? And it's an incredible and humble experience when some people are crying and some people are like, I just never watched the sunrise like that. Or I didn't know I was going to meet a beautiful Aboriginal elder along the way that was going to share a story about a water ceremony and connect me to the water, to the ocean like that. So we're creating the wellness around story and sharing other people's experiences and, creating that component of well-being. I've just put 3 slides together just to create a story, if you like. This is probably the reason I was asked. Why do this when I'm busy? I run a specialist practice with 20 employees currently, also a small business consulting I guess, company. It's very small, don't have very many clients, but I just like to help people create platforms to fundraise or to help build their brand or their song. What is it that they do? What is it that they want to do? And how do they do it? And I just love helping others to do that. So busy, yes, but who isn't? I mean, when people say, hi, how are you today? And you say busy, I'm like, well, like, isn't everybody? Like, why wait for something when life doesn't wait for you? I love Port Macquarie. I love the Mid-North Coast. I love working with 2 LGAs, Port Macquarie and Kempsey, joining them, being part of an advocacy for this beautiful 5 headlands that the Kempsey Council are working on, enjoying my time communicating with national parks about flora and fauna. Just recently in Port Macquarie we had a shocking flood again, the second one in 4 years that we thought would never happen. The trickle-on effect was obviously huge. For me as a small business, the retreats we don't run that many times a year, between 4 to 6. National parks were closed down, people started to cancel their holidays in Port Macquarie, nobody wants to come to a place that's got floodwater and whatnot. So what do? I don't actually have the answer, but you don't give up and you try to find another way of being sustainable. One of the things we have, Mark spoke about GFC before, and obviously inflationary pressures mean people aren't spending a lot of money. So how do you give them an experience with wellbeing when they're not physically able to join you on a retreat? We've tried to make the business scalable by creating, at-home retreats and courses which are medically backed using the cardiology network that I have, and scientific information about creating a better body for yourself, keeping fit and obviously keeping your heart fit, and having sort of components around nature, forest bathing online. So I've taken myself into a rainforest and created, a stage, if you like, and walked through what they call in Japan a shinrin-yoko, a type of forest bathing meditation that people can play on their phone and hopefully just stop and hopefully connect with our brand and hopefully connect with who we are. So they can take a little bit of that back to us, and like for $47, it's a bargain. So building strategy which will allow us to scale, because we are really busy, we both have families, we both have multiple businesses, but we have a friendship and we have a community that we feel really passionate about sharing. Nobody knows about the Lime Burners National Park and the Goolawah National Park necessarily. But it's a great stretch of literally the Bay of Fires, 35 to 42 kilometres, and about to extend all the way up to Scott's Head, of just beautiful fresh air and sparse and interesting flora and fauna. One more slide. Did that move? Oh, great. They look a little bit the same to me. I guess this slide really just talks about the why. Positive energy is a little bit personal, but we created a little WhatsApp chat, and it was with a friend who was terminally ill during COVID. She didn't survive, and she was never going to survive, but she said, just talk about something else other than that, because sickness can really consume you. So we created a WhatsApp group called Positive Energy, and it was just for reasons to keep yourself positive about life. And it sort of stems from my roots working in medicine, working in health, working with frontline workers, seeing the day-to-day grind. Doctors, nurses, and anyone in the hospitals have not had a break. They didn't stop during COVID. They are still going. And it's a really interesting platform to be around people like that who are brilliant at what they do, but they don't look after themselves very well. So putting this together and getting it out to corporates, getting it out to medical teams, getting people to come as a team and experience positive energy. Maybe even if we're just to get them to do a sunrise dip and an immersion, maybe just get them up in the morning and doing a stretch session on the beach, maybe just listening to a story from an Aboriginal elder that talks about when she was a child how she used to swim with the dolphins, or learning about the local totems, or just connecting with a burger and a beer at the end after 35 kilometres of beach hiking. It's just a thing that we wanted to do, and I'm really proud, or we are really proud, Belinda and myself are very proud of what we've created for people's well-being, for people's experience, but also for our beautiful mid-north coast, bringing people. Port Macquarie has an airport, we have a very large corporate and professional community, and we're able to give them a small break in their own backyard. So that's positive energy. Thank you.
Not busy, just positive energy. Brenda, please join us.
Now I get the fun of the clicker. Is it working? Am I going the wrong way? There we go. Hi everyone, my name is Brenda, and my story starts with a surfboard, a big idea, and a lot of raised eyebrows. I started Let's Go Surfing out of the back of a van in 1995 on Bondi Beach with an idea to teach women to surf. I'd always surfed and I had fun surfing, and I sort of enjoyed a little bit of community surfing comps, and this is a photo of Pauline Menzer and I back in the 80s. But it was always difficult to get enough women to come and surf in the comps because they were often scared or felt intimidated by the guys. And I knew exactly how they felt because my heyday was the 70s and 80s, although I still like to think I'm in my heyday. And I was often one of the only women in the surf, but I just loved surfing, even though sometimes it was intimidating. And in the 90s, I became a PE teacher. And I thought, maybe I could teach some of these women to surf, and maybe they'll come surfing with me, or maybe I'll have someone to compete with. And that was the days that I was Sarah the Mayor's PE teacher. But, and you know, who knew where either of us would end up? But yeah, I just sort of had this passion, and I wanted a call to action to women to say, come on, we can all go surfing together and I can teach you. And in those days, there wasn't such a thing as surf schools, which is hard to believe. There was very much a fledgling industry. But I knew what I was actually doing was breaking down barriers so that surfing was accessible to everyone, and it started with women. But of course, as things went on, men, women and children started just turning up at the van. I also thought, you know what, I need to get involved in this surfing industry. So I joined Surfing Australia, and I was often, again, one of the only women in the room, which was also intimidating if I tried to voice my opinion. But I knew that I couldn't be scared. I had to keep stepping up and keep turning up. But then as my business started, I had a boyfriend, and he was really good at sourcing equipment, lifting heavy stuff, and doing all the stuff I didn't want to do. So I thought, yeah, okay, I'll marry him. And we've been running the business together for over 30 years, and we're still married. And he's our sales and marketing guru, and he loves a bit of an overseas trip to promote the areas that we work in. His name's Wacker, by the way, if you didn't know. They say luck is where hard work meets opportunity. And in the year 2000, luck came our way. The Olympics came to Sydney. And obviously in those days, we all didn't have a phone with a camera on it, but we had a media scrum around us, sending photos all around the world to the nightly news. And all of a sudden, all these people started falling through our door, and we thought, wow, we're pretty good at this business thing. But what we also realised was maybe surfing is a tourism experience. Maybe it isn't just for the community. And then I realised, I'd always been a surfing tourist myself. I travelled around the world, looking at different cultures, trying to, find great waves, eating good food. But I realised that other people wanted to come to Australia and experience our culture and learn about our way of life. So we were actually giving experiences that were like welcoming our long-lost cousins to show them how we live and work. So we got involved with Destination New South Wales, Tourism Australia, and a number of other groups, so that we could be part of how surfing could become a safe and professional tourism experience. And we also travelled around the world promoting all the places that we worked in. And then we found ourselves in Byron and Ballina. And now my Byron story was I started coming to Byron as soon as I could travel, which was when I was about 17. And in those days you had to catch a train. It was a 12-hour train from Sydney, or a bus. I didn't know about planes or anything, and I didn't have a car. And I came to this amazing place, and like everyone here, I discovered it had a healing element to it. It felt amazing, and of course the surf was fantastic. So it's always been a special place in my heart. And we started working with Go Surfing Byron Bay, and they soon became part of the Let's Go Surfing family. And we like to say now we operate on any beach that starts with a B: Bondi, Byron, Ballina, Brunswick, and the Bra or Maroubra. And we partner with everybody and anyone. And if you're in this room today, that's what this is all about. It's about finding partnerships and working with different people and communities, because tourism, when it's done well, is a team sport. Along the way, we've won numerous awards. Last year, we were recognised at the North Coast Tourism Awards. We've been inducted into the New South Wales Tourism Hall of Fame, and we're also eco-accredited, which we think is really important, because we also like to be the world's best surf school and be a fantastic sustainable business. We've had some hard times in business, just like everybody. We've survived surf attacks, the GFC, COVID, and of course the floods that absolutely made some of our team and many people environmental refugees. So we had a lot of problems with our team actually leaving the area and wanting to go to somewhere dry. So, you know, the floods and the weather has played a big part in how we've had to work together. But as a surfer, you always know that you can't stop going out, and you've got to paddle out hard if you want to keep surviving, and you might just find the best wave you've ever caught. Our team is always developing at Byron, and we're constantly developing so that we can be the world's best surf school, changing lives one wave at a time. We work with technology, we develop innovation, and in Byron, it's still evolving. We're still working out how Byron is working, and together we can all work together to make Byron the best place that it can be. Our team even has done tours with Delta, because it's important for when you're teaching people that you know exactly what is happening in the area. And it also is about welcoming people with heart into our region. But three main things in business that I've learnt is, number one, surround yourself with good people who do amazing things. And a case in point is our manager here, Dylan Chisholm. He's an amazing waterman. He is the president of the Far North Coast Disabled Surfers Association. So being accessible is a big part of what we do here in Byron and in Sydney. And also he's very insightful and has a great business acumen. The second thing is make sure your team is professional. So we do a lot of team training, because culture is everything in your business, and it's the team you have is that the experience that you're going to deliver. And thirdly, look after your community, because I don't believe, and the environment, I don't believe you can run a successful tourism business unless you are connected with the community and you're looking after your community and you're looking after the environment. And as surfers, we love looking after the environment. And just to finish, there's three personal things that I've always followed. The first one is follow your dreams, no matter how ridiculous they are. Believe in yourself, especially when other people don't, and never give up, because wipeouts happen, but there's always going to be another good wave. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I was going to ask you guys to leave us all with a few final thoughts, but you've sort of kicked it off, Brenda. Peta, is there anything you'd like to share with the group here today?
I think, Brenda, follow your dreams. I love that. Mine's a little bit more practical. Use what you've got, because you've got it. So that's my 2025.
Great. Justine?
Mine would probably be going back to what we were talking about before about, where do you start? Just small, just one small little change. That's what we did, and then it's just gone on from there, but it was just one small change at a time.
That's great. And since it's not all about me, I'd love to open up to the audience now for questions. We've got a mic, I think he's working on it, so we're happy to pass that around. Who wants to start us off?
Any questions?
I feel like Stuart's got a question.
Knock, knock. So it's a sort of question for you all, but it's all about what we learn from others. You've travelled. It'd be really interesting to understand what you've seen happening elsewhere that we could learn from, and particularly if your experiences. How do we come together as clusters? We work together, because sometimes it's great doing your own thing, but you've got to bring people with you, and I'm sure you've all got your own perspectives on how that could happen. So, learnings?
Yeah, learnings. Look, it's all about, I always see everything as an opportunity to see what other people are doing, what looks good, and if somebody's doing something better than what we're doing, I actually take that into my business. And just, when you say working as a cluster, just being in this room is an amazing opportunity for everyone. And, as I said, tourism is a team sport. I wouldn't be here 30 years later if I hadn't collaborated with different businesses. Like, we work with lots of different people. We run tours where we do surfing and work with other businesses, but always get involved, always give my time, just to see what's going on. But as surfers, we always want to be sustainable, so we're always looking at what we can do to be a more sustainable business. And luckily, running surf lessons, you leave only footprints on the beach. But yeah, it's all about looking at what other people do and taking that into your business if you think it's a good thing.
Thank you. Justine, I really loved all of your points in your presentation about the things that you've been implementing at the park. Have you found, is there anything in particular that guests were really responsive to being involved with? And on the flip side, was there anything that you implemented that maybe they didn't take on board or affected their experience at all?
Yeah, I think guests in the past have been notoriously, and for anyone who has holiday parks or I suppose regions as well, you would understand this, of it's not my home, it doesn't matter what I do here. So getting that, getting people on board with, well, this is where you holiday, this is your community, this is, it does matter what you do here. That means recycle, that means separate your cans and bottles and doing those small changes. So it did take a while for guests to kind of go, oh, okay, I can't just walk away and pretend that what I do doesn't matter. The composting side of it, surprisingly, they got around that really quickly. Like, we got 3 compost tumblers in our park and they were filled within the first 2 weeks. And I was surprised in how much they took that on board. And then when we were able to use that in our salad gardens, in our cultural garden, and guests could come back the next year and see that there was snow peas growing that they could pick for their salad that night, and that came from the compost that they put into that tumbler a year ago, I think really resonated with them.
All right, we've got time for one more, just up the top here.
Hello, my name's Lydia Kindred. I'm the Secretary of a local railway company, and we're very much working to extending the service from this current solar train that only goes 3 kilometres, so isn't as self-sustaining as it could be. Once we extend it to Mullumbimby, another 12.6 kilometres, that will start the process of really making it come together more sustainably. And up to Bangalore, and the whole 72 kilometres between Lismore and the top of Byron Shire. So I was just very happy to hear Brenda in the last speech talk about working with other like-minded organisations and companies, and we'd love to partner with as many local organisations, companies and businesses around the area, because we've ticked all the boxes with Transport for New South Wales and UGL to get to the point now, after 3.5 years of working through the process of becoming able to run the service, not just our little company, Northern Rivers Rail Limited, but also with another company, Northern Regional Railway Company, and hopefully along the way with the Byron Bay Railroad Company. But we are actually at this point where we have to now find the funding. The state government's not prepared to put the money in at this point, but they are very interested in what we're doing, and we've been building up the process to the point now where we can move forward and actually extend services. We don't want to cut off the bike trail. We're happy to have both. I know a lot of people are hanging their hats on the rail trail, which is sort of working, but it's gone down in the Tweed from 19,000 a month to 5,000 or 6,000, which isn't, the big thing that it was supposed to be, and we'd like to have both because then it would work for everyone. So just to let you know, if anyone wants to speak with us or contact us at Northern Rivers Railway at gmail.com, that would be a good start. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm not going to keep you all from lunch any longer. Thank you all so much for your time. Thank you for sharing your stories, and thank you for answering the questions. If anyone wants to speak further with these lovely ladies, they'll be available at lunch to have a chat. And I highly encourage you to chase them and ask any questions that you have that you weren't able to ask today. Thank you.